Happy Monday. It's Candace Mae. So happy to be with you. I wanted to check in with you today and see how you're doing. We're going to talk about character discernment. And, it's been a tough morning for me. I woke up about 4:40 this morning. I had my accountability partner meeting at 5, which was great. And I was all geared up for an organized day and morning. And my accountability partner asked me something about the manuscript for my book I've been working on. I'm ready to move it to an editor. When suddenly every version of my book I opened came to a book synopsis. So I am kind of like trying not to fight panic mode this morning of, is my book lost? Am I starting over with my book? It's very sad. You know what it made me think of? Well, we're talking about character discernment, and it made me realize what's happening with me on the inside. How am I feeling? And how am I going to let this cascade into my behaviors? Because it feels kind of like when I was married. I had texted somebody in Australia, and I said, hey, I think I lost my manuscript. I'm devastated. All that time, all that love investment lost. And I said, wow, as soon as I typed that, I said, wow, that's kind of like what it felt like when I went through my divorce. All that time, investment, and love sent out to another person just lost. But then I realized it wasn't really lost, because even if I don't find the manuscript, even if I have divorced that marriage relationship, I grew during that marriage. I grew during the process of writing my book. It was a very powerful process and distilled a lot of growth in me. So I'm going to claim victory one way or the other. I claim victory in the midst of the divorce, right? It's over. It's been done for years. But for anybody out there going through that, I want you to not feel like your time, investment, and all the love that you gave is lost. It's not, because you were changed and you grew in the process. So guard your heart and keep it soft and tender, and ask God for strength, and don't lose hope. And for anybody out there who's been in a situation where you've had a really critical document and for some reason you've lost it, I saved it. I saved so many versions of that manuscript, and every one I opens to a book synopsis. A 3-page book doesn't make any sense. I know there's something else going on here, so I'm just leaving it in the hands of the Lord and going to trust that it's going to appear. And I'm going to do all that I can to seek help to find how to restore this document. But in the meantime, it's a great testimony. It's a great testament to character discernment. Like, how do you handle pressure? What do you do under those circumstances? So for today, again, I wanted to talk about material covered in the book Safe People by Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townsend. I studied this book way back in the early 2000s and even did a small group with it. And it's very powerful. And it came to mind that I wanted to talk about it again. I have a lot of people in my life going through different things. And I think it's important that we understand what a safe person looks like, or what a safe person doesn't look like, because it makes a difference in the quality of our relationships. But in the process, I don't want to just talk about what the relationships look like with other people. I want to take this information and do some introspection into our own hearts to see, how are we showing up in the world, and how are the relationships between us and other people? Because we may find that sometimes we're not safe people to other people. And if that be the case, and it could be, because people can be safe one time and then they could have a tragedy go on in their life, and they could become an unsafe person just because of all of the pain that they're going through and working through. So we still love people in our life. We just have to be aware of the situation and how best to handle it. So if someone were to ask you, and I'm going to ask you, What is it you're looking for in a relationship? Or whether it be a worker, a coworker, you're hiring somebody, a supervisor, or whether it be a personal relationship. What are the qualities that you're looking for? Do you know? Oftentimes we go to high level descriptions. And sometimes knowing what you don't want helps you know what you do want, right? So if we were to ask people what they don't like in relationships, what are some of the things that we hear, whether it be, again, an employer, employee, colleague, or a personal relationship? We might hear things like, he doesn't listen to me. She's so perfect, she can't understand my problems. He seems so distant, I feel alone. She always tries to control me, micromanaging. He makes promises but doesn't follow through. He's condemning and judgmental. She's always angry at me for something I did or something I didn't do. I tend to be my worst self with him or with her. I cannot trust him. Trust is essential, isn't it? And there's so many more things, right? But this is the bottom line when you get into a relationship with other people. These are the kind of things that come up, right? Do you know that God says the same thing about his people, us, those who have a relationship with him? Isaiah 29:13, he says, his people are far away. In Joshua 22:16, he says, my people are unfaithful. In Deuteronomy 8:14 and Psalms 36:2, he says, my people are proud and perfectionistic. In 1 John 4:20, he says, my people are unloving. And in Romans 2:1, he says people are judgmental. There's people out there who say, I don't like Christians. They're judgmental. They're unloving. They're so proud and they're unfaithful and all these things, right? And God says that. Well, we're perfectly imperfect human beings. And it's really important that we spend the time to look at who we are with our character. Who do we want to be? Who do we want to show up as in the workplace, as an employer, as a supervisor, as a colleague and a team member, as a husband, as a wife, as a friend? Character discernment. We need to decide what is our character and what is the character of the people around us, because we become like the people around us. So it's important that we surround ourselves with the right people who really are focused on growth and developing themselves. You see, we don't get a lot of training in character development. When we go to school or even with our parents, oftentimes we're not taught how to discern character. Character is often caught more than it's taught. So we often find that we look at people by the outside. What are the clothes they're wearing? How is their hairstyle? What kind of jewelry are they wearing? What is the car that they're driving? What kind of education do they have? What is their talents and giftedness? These are all outside things. But yet when we work with them and we talk with them and we have a relationship with them, we're forced into dealing with the inside of them. What's in their heart comes out. That's when we start to experience the pain in the relationship with them. When you watch movies with Hollywood, the bad guys, we can always determine them in the movies, right? They usually aren't dressed very nice or there's ugly. There's very strong clues that they're the bad guy. But life isn't quite so easy. You see, in life, in everyday work, that person who is toxic is sometimes the person who looks the best. They wear the best suits. Maybe they're in a higher management position. Maybe they're the colleague sitting right next to you. Maybe it's you. Maybe they have great education. Maybe they have done all the right things and they look like everything we want. Their resume is spot on. They're perfect. But yet they're the bully boss, or they're the colleague who just can't get along with anybody. Unsafe people appear attractive and promising, and their character problems are oftentimes very subtle. We don't really see them glaring. So we all need to do our work. We all need to look in the mirror and see what it is that that we're going through and how we're responding to other people. A really good thing you can do is watch the people around you that trigger you, the people that really push your buttons. Ask yourself, why are they pushing your buttons? What is happening that they're doing? And when do I do that? Because oftentimes, those very things that push our buttons reflect back to us how we behave. And it's a good point of character clue that maybe there's something there that we need to work on for ourselves. So while there's many kinds of different or unsafe people, we can really focus on three main categories right now. One is the abandoners. Those are the people who start relationships, they start jobs, they start engaging, and then they don't finish it. They actually destroy trust in the process. People are depending on them, and then they fail to follow through. And that is a really hard place. If this has happened to you and someone has abandoned you, whether it be in a relationship or maybe a work assignment, you were teamed up to someone to work and they just walked away, you could end up depressed and feeling compulsive behaviors and various things like that. The second category are the critics. Those are people who like to find judgment in other people. They want to find all the things that you did not do or how to fix all the things rather than embracing maybe who you are and making connections with people. They're very judgmental. That is a very, very hard place to be. And the third one is the irresponsibles. These are the people who they're carefree. They could be very warm and loving and charismatic and empathic and compassionate, but yet they're very focused on the present, which can be good. They don't really care about the future so much, but they're oftentimes the irresponsible ones who come asking you for money. And they'll say, can I get a loan? And maybe you give them a loan, but then they never get their act together and are never able to pay you back. So maybe they're the person you're constantly waiting for when you go to a restaurant and you're waiting. Or maybe they're the person who you were doing an important opportunity with. And maybe there was paperwork they were going to fill out or something and complete, and they didn't, and you lost a job opportunity. So good morning, Rebecca. Good to see you here. So these are things that to think about. That irresponsible person, instead of loaning them money, maybe you need to rethink that through and say, you know what, I don't want to loan you money, but maybe I will gift you the money because I know you keep saying you're going to pay me back and you never do, and it causes resentment in me. So rather than becoming angry and resentful, I'm just going to gift you the money, right? And then that way, it helps you. It may not help the other person. They may not even see how their behavior is showing up. So the last thing I wanted to focus on today is the safe qualities, maybe in a friendship. We say, where do we find these safe people? There are a lot of safe people out there. You just really have to find them. And if you know what kind of qualities you're looking for, it helps you to find them. They could be the neighbor, they could be a colleague or coworker, it could be somebody in a support group, or maybe there's a professional organization you belong to, an association, or you have a club that you belong to. They're out there. Some of them, some of the traits that you might know them as they're accepting. They accept you as you are, and they offer grace for your faults. They have mutual struggles. Have you ever been in a relationship where the other person, again, says they appear perfect, they don't have any struggles, and you feel like you're the one who always has the problems? But safe people have mutual problems. They don't have to be the same ones. There's loving confrontation. They don't have to be in your face and ugly, but they're also not going to let you slide. They're going to kind of help you to become the best person you can be. So there's loving confrontation. Outside support systems for both people. If you've got a friend or a partner or somebody at work You don't want to be so focused on them in that relationship that you become toxically dependent on each other. You need outside support groups and outside people and friends besides that one person, so that you have something better to bring to the relationship, and um, there's a richer dynamic for you. Uh, Familiarity with the growth process. Yeah, you want people around you who are growing. They're familiar with what it looks like to be growing, because we all should be in the process of growing every day. And when you're not growing, you're getting stagnant. Safe qualities are that there's mutual interest and chemistry. You like each other. If you don't like each other, you're not going to be attracted to work out any challenges or problems in the friendship or the relationship or the work relationship. So it's important that there's a mutual interest and chemistry there. And the absence of one-ups or one-down dynamics. Have you ever been with that person who always has to feel like they're competing with you, and they're always one better than you, or if they're not better than you, then they're feeling down, or maybe you feel that way where feel like you're competing constantly. We don't need that. Like, especially even if it's somebody you're working with and they're in the same industry and it's two business owners, we're here to serve other people, and there's more than enough hurting people out there in the world to go around to help. That they're going to be drawn to our personalities, they're going to be drawn to the challenges that we have in our own lives. And so we don't need to compete against each other. We just need to lift each other up and really focus on the people who need us. Both parties are in a relationship with God, having a higher power, something that they're growing toward. Honesty and reality. They're not over spiritualizing. Sometimes people, especially who are faith based, sometimes will overemphasize. Yeah, one ups are frustrating, Chris. Thanks. I'm glad you're here. Um, Sometimes we over spiritualize things, and we think, oh, I could have minimized this, and so forth. And we don't want that. We need to be more honest and more enough reality based that we realize it is what it is, and embrace things. And then an absence of controlling behavior. Gosh, I don't know about you, but I don't want somebody else to control my behavior. The only one I want controlling my behavior is God, and I allow Him to do that. So, um, these, I hope, were a good conversation for you. Looking at your own life again, how are you showing up in this world, in your work relationships? How are you being perceived by others? I begin to want to go a little deeper, but I would love to talk with you individually. If you want to private message me, I can get back with you and we can talk further. If there's areas in your life that you want to talk about and see anything going on, I would love to partner with you and see how we can grow together, see if there's a way we can help each other. Have an awesome Monday. I am going to call the Geek Squad now and see if I can get some help in trying to find my manuscript for my book. Devastating. Absolutely devastating. But you know what? God wrote that book through me, and it wasn't just my message. It was His message. He worked through me. And if that manuscript is lost, that just means I get to write another book. And they always say the second book's better than the first one. So we'll see how it goes. But am I like disappointed? Extremely. Have a great day, Chris. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for stopping by. Have a wonderful day to all of you watching the recording. Bye-bye.